California Democrat politicians are racing against the clock to remove Donald Trump's name from the March 2024 ballot so he can't run for president in the state of California. Coming up, we'll tell you about their scheme and why it's illegal and how we're fighting back. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and this is a topic that I actually covered a couple months ago when it was first proposed. But we now have some breaking news updates to the effort by Democrats across the country, but particularly here in California, to remove Donald Trump's name from the ballot so that he can't run for president. Let me start out with the overall scheme that's going on here. About August of this past year, Democrats across the country started invoking the 14th Amendment. And they said that the 14th Amendment to the Constitution clearly means that Donald Trump is ineligible to serve as president and he can't run for president as a result. They said we should not even bother putting him on the ballot since he's unfit for office under the 14th Amendment. Now, what is the 14th Amendment? 14th Amendment does a lot of things, but it does include a clause in the wake of the Civil War that said that anyone who served in the Confederacy, who broke away from the U.S., as an officer, as a executive, as a member of the legislature, breaking their oath of office to be loyal to the United States rather than break away and become Confederates, that they would be ineligible to serve in the United States going forward. Now, the language that's in there applies to people who give aid and comfort to the enemy or commit treason against the United States or engage in some sort of insurrection. All of which must, I know that this is a hard thing for Democrat politicians to embrace and understand, as well as the liberal media, but it requires a finding of fact. You can't just say, oh, I think this person is an insurrectionist. I think what they did was an insurrection. Oh, I think what they did was treasonous. There's this little thing called due process. Oh, I know Democrats run for the hills, due process. But due process requires that everyone accused of something must actually be charged with that and must be found guilty of that in a court of law. Donald Trump has not been found guilty of an insurrection. He's not even been charged with an insurrection, even though he's been charged with virtually every other crime on the books. And so on the face of it, this is a laughable concept, but it shows just how nervous Democrats are across the country. It also shows just how wretchedly undemocratic they are because they don't want voters to decide. They don't want voters to actually have a chance to vote for Donald Trump. They're so worried that Trump will actually get the support of Americans and win this election that they want by hook or crook to remove his name from the ballot. So this actually was proposed across the country in a number of states. We're going to get to some of the other states in just a moment. But here in California, Democrats feel as though they control everything, all the courts. There is no real independent media in California. There's no real organized Republican opposition. I mean, come on, the Republican Party of California is a dumpster fire of cowardly approaches and incompetence. And that's why the Democrats, I always said, would pick California as one of their test cases because they have complete unbridled control, complete dictatorship, really, out here in California. None of the judges have been appointed by Republicans. They have carte blanche freedom to do whatever they want in the courts, in the state courts here. Here is the story from a few months ago, September 21st, 2023. Will Silicon Valley lawmakers plan to toss Trump off ballot work? And it talks about this wingnut, Evan Lowe, who is out there grandstanding and gaslighting. He basically got a bunch of other legislators in the state assembly and state senate to send a letter to Attorney General Rob Bonta, a Democrat, a creep, bad lawyer, doesn't actually go after criminals, but he does go after political opponents. So this is right up his alley. And the letter said that the Attorney General should take expedited action to file a suit and get courts to throw Trump off the ballot. Again, this is gaslighting and grandstanding, but it does lay the groundwork for what we're up against and the real risk that we have here. because there are two ways to remove Trump from the ballot. One way is to have a lawsuit, get him off the ballot. And there is actually a lawsuit already pending, brought by an individual living in Los Angeles County. But that will take a while to wind its way through the courts. If the attorney general brought a lawsuit, it would be expedited. So the one way to get Trump off the ballot is to trigger a lawsuit. The second way is that the Secretary of State, Shirley Weber, has carte blanche ability to take anyone off the ballot because she is the chief election officer. She's a Democrat. She's also incompetent. And so this is the story that appeared just last week in Politico. California struggles to knock Trump off the ballot. A December 28th deadline looms. And it basically says that, as I've just recounted for you, Democrats across the country are trying to get Trump off the ballot. But it points out that under our California elections code and our timeline for the March 5th ballot, the primary that we have in March, the deadline to take someone off the ballot would be December 28th. And the question is, could Weber act alone? And most people are saying that, yes, she can take him off the ballot. Now, Trump can sue, but again, if they wait to the last minute to take Trump off the ballot, he faces the same problem that the other court cases face. How quickly can he get into a court and get a judge to rule that, no, he deserves to be on the ballot? Court cases take time. And of course, he'd be up against a state judge, a liberal state judge in California. So Weber right now has been very quiet. Politico says Weber hasn't taken a definitive stance. Her office has repeatedly said she's reviewing the issue. Right now, we're monitoring the legal cases here and in other states. Monitoring. I mean, this is not a hard call. It should be, no, let the people decide. Now, the court cases, as I mentioned in August when I first covered this topic, court cases already have been brought in other states. Minnesota and Colorado most recently took this issue up. And as I said back in August when we first addressed this issue on this podcast, there is absolutely no legal rationale, no basis for Democrats to remove Trump from the ballot. And even the Democrat-leaning judges in Minnesota and in Colorado have agreed. Here is the Minnesota story. Minnesota Supreme Court dismisses insurrection clause challenge and allows Trump on the 2024 ballot. And here is a CNN report on what happened just last week in Colorado. Oh boy, they must have had a hard time emotionally reporting this news. Here's how CNN treated.
Just ruling on whether former President Trump should be kicked off the ballot in the state of Colorado. Judge Sarah Rallis deciding that Trump is eligible to run for president even after his role in the January 6th insurrection.
Oh, even after his role. Notice how she slides in that vicious, biased fake news there. Even after his insurrection. Again, she's stating as fact her opinion. She can call it an insurrection if she wants, that he somehow was plotting it and coordinating it. She's stating as fact that he's an insurrectionist. Again, I don't know, but I'm from the quaint, original country called the United States of America, where we actually had due process and freedoms. He needs to be charged. If you want to say that he somehow is guilty of a crime, he has to be convicted. And none of that's happened, and rightfully so, because Democrats know they can't bring a case on that basis. They brought a case on everything else except for that because they know it's not possible. Come on, let's go.
A group of voters had filed a lawsuit, and this was based specifically on the 14th Amendment. They argued that that amendment would bar Trump from federal office. A judge, though, ruling the other way. As I said just seconds ago, a team of reporters is standing by to go through the details on this break.
She can't even say a judge ruling. She says a judge ruling the other way. She can just simply say a judge said no, that they're not, that allegation is not true, that they're wrong on the law. And watch, again, look at their depressed faces. Aw, so sorry. Got to break the bad news to the people we've been lying to on this channel for months and years. Notice how the reporters tried to say, well, she's unsure. She's unsure. No one's unsure here. This is an open and shut case.
news as we get it. Lucy Kafanov is out front in Denver. Evan Perez is in Washington. And Evan, as I said seconds ago, I haven't had a chance to read 102 pages.
I'm here reporting on this, making some broad statements, but I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. That was the translation of that word salad.
You've had a chance to see a little bit more of it than I have.
Right.
But what do we need to know?
The bottom line, Aaron, is that the Judge Sarah Wallace, is ordering that Donald Trump's name will appear on the ballot in Colorado. This is a ruling that she just came down on. The bottom line for the judge is that the 14th Amendment, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which is what these voters were seeking to have enforced, the judge is saying it's not clear that this applies to the President of the United States.
By the way, that's not true. What she's saying is you can't apply this to someone who's not been found guilty of an insurrection. That's what she's saying. When she says it doesn't apply to Trump, what she's saying is he hasn't been found guilty of these things. So I can't just simply say, oh, golly, I'm going to declare that he's an insurrectionist. He needs to be tried. They need to bring a case against him. He needs to be indicted. Then he needs to be tried, jury of his peers. And then he would have to be found guilty before I even possibly start talking about the 14th Amendment. That's what she said in that 100-page ruling. This asshat knows that that's what she said. But he's sitting here gaslighting, saying, well, she said that she doesn't know whether it applies to the president. It applies to anyone who engages in an insurrection, anyone who violated their oath. That's the 14th Amendment. It's pretty clear. But in order to say someone is an insurrectionist or violated their oath, you need to have a guilty verdict. You have to actually have the fact that they've done something wrong, and that fact has to be determined after due process through the court system, and that has not happened here. This guy's lying. He's lying to CNN viewers, as they always do, because they don't want to admit we've been misleading you. We got your hopes up that somehow Orange Man Bad would be taken off the ballot, and you all tuned in to CNN, although fewer and fewer people are tuning in. This big novel legal theory that the Democrats and the media has been pimping for the past several months. Yeah, we're dead wrong. A first-year law student would laugh us out of court. Can't say that. So he says, oh, it's a little unclear. Back to you in the newsroom. Let's talk about climate change.
States, or that this President of the United States is covered by that section of the 14th Amendment. It's not clear that the framers, the writers of that section of the Constitution, intended for that to apply to the President of the United States. And I'll read you just a part of what the 14th Amendment says. It says that anyone who previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer in the United States.
By the way, as an officer of the United States, the president is an officer of the United States. He is the chief executive officer. That's plain English. So they're trying to hide behind, oh, she determined that the president would not be in this position. Minnesota simply said, no, this does not apply, period, end of story. And everyone else who's looked at this thing has laughed about it. Absolutely laughed. But again, the smears, the attacks, the charges that the Democrats and the media have brought against Trump, and again, you don't have to like Trump, but here are just the simple realities. These people are insane, absolutely insane. What's galling about this is that they don't trust you. They don't trust you, the voter. After all the smears and all the mud that's been slung about Trump, against Trump, you would think that they would say, okay, we think we got him now. But no, I think they realize that the American people, voters, are seeing through the bullshit, that they actually see that Trump has been falsely accused and attacked on a number of fronts. Again, you don't have to like the guy to recognize that these people are not honest brokers, that these people are not justified in the attacks that they've leveled against him on so many fronts. But again, whether you like or dislike Trump, why not let the voters decide? I mean, isn't that the United States of America? Aren't these liberal outlets hooting and hollering about the danger to democracy? Well, look at the danger to democracy right in front of us. You've got the party in power and a powerful media enterprise trying to short circuit the right of the voters to decide. How undemocratic. I mean, tin pot dictators like Stalin and Saddam Hussein would probably sit there and say, "Wow, I didn't need to shoot my opponents. All I needed was like a CNN to be the media outlet for my country." Look, in California, I think that this is the most likely state to allow this to happen. And I come back to the issue that I'm concerned about is that our judges are not as relatively balanced as Minnesota and Colorado. And you have Shirley Weber running the clock out, it seems, as we approach this December 28th deadline. You might say it won't matter because Trump can't win in California. Well, some would also argue that the nomination, by taking away those delegates from Donald Trump from California, you drag on this Republican nomination past the point it should be going. And so, look, in California, we're going to continue to fight for some level of fairness, and we're going to need your help. At Reform California, we're leading the fight to try to rebalance our state's politics and put up an effective opposition. And we are slowly but surely turning the tide. We do it through investigative journalism. We do it through our news division, our media outlets, the contact that we make with voters directly with our voter guide, the plain English voter guide, recruiting volunteers all throughout the state of California, ballot measure campaigns. I'm going to need your help in waging these fights. Go to that website, reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. Check it out. Share some of the stories that are up there. Subscribe. And of course, please chip in a contribution. We are entirely funded by grassroots supporters like you in the fight to save this state from the far left's insanity. What you can do right now is comment on this video below. Do you think it's right to take Trump off the ballot? And also, please share this video on your social media feed so that we can break through the algorithm that the big tech companies impose. And please click the subscribe button on this channel and smash that notification button so that you get our daily video podcast with news and updates on California politics. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California.
Thanks for watching. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.